everyone. Thanks for coming today. Let's go ahead and get started here. I hope you can see me. I'm working from home. So COVID rules apply here. And so pretty much everybody's been working from home in the speech cure offices. But yeah, hopefully you're keeping safe. And I do appreciate you taking the time to come and join us today. And we're going to step through a bunch of different options here for using Streamer and get you going. We're also going to show you how you can sign up for your own free account. We'll get that included as well. Let's go ahead and jump in, and I'll turn off my video here and we'll go over to the slides. Thanks again for joining us. Let's go ahead and jump through, and going to move a little bit fast here, but I'll turn on the captioning in a moment here. Let's go ahead and do that right now, actually. And let me jump into the overlay mode. I think that'll work best for what we're doing here. So you're seeing some sort of live demos as we're going. All right, let me change the background setting so you can see that a little bit better. White on white just doesn't work very well. I kind of like a black background, and I kind of like yellow text. And I sort of like it having been solid. Okay, there we go. So now you're seeing the captioning, and I'm going to close this window down, and we'll start jumping through some slides here. And I promise not to spend too much time on the slides, but I do want to talk a little bit about some of the features, and then I'll do a live demonstration and we'll answer any questions that you have. And also I'll be showing you how you can sign up for a free trial. And if you do want credits for this course, for this hour course, we can certainly get you set up for that as well. Okay, so what you see here is some slides that Karen Anderson put together for me. And I do like these slides, kind of jumping through them real quick here. But what she's showing is the thought process of having a jigsaw puzzle be the various words that you're hearing. So again, I'll jump back through there. If you can only hear 70% of the words, it's pretty hard to understand what's happening in that conversation. Basically, it's impossible to understand what's happening there. And if that jumps up to 75, you see a little more, 80, a little more, and eventually you get to that position where you're able to understand actually what's happening there. And so this is what's happening for a student that is hard of hearing. They're only hearing part of the words, part of the message, and so they're constantly having to fill in those missing words, and it becomes very exhausting for them to do that, to have to constantly concentrate. And so being able to provide them with a live captioning certainly helps augment that communication ability. It helps them to better understand what's happening in the classroom. And so that's what we're doing here at Streamer, and definitely making that much more better for the students. Streamer itself, we just got some nice awards here, so we do kind of like boasting about that a little bit. But we are being used now by the United Nations Zero Project Assembly to translate all their assemblies, all their meetings, and so that's a big honor. You know, certainly from a captioning and language translation perspective, having a team within the United Nations select you as being their preferred platform for captioning and translating all their meetings. That's a big deal. And I also received this award. This is the best education technology product. So kind of new things happening, and we do like that. We certainly appreciate that happening. The first question we get with Streamer all the time is regarding student privacy. And so yes, Streamer is very much private and secure. It is fully compliant with the student privacy laws. This is not an accident. This is not an afterthought. We started developing Streamer in partnership with the US Marine Corps, as they needed a private and secure system to use in their peacekeeping operations to converse with the local populace. And so if they're somewhere in the Middle East, they would need to be able to speak Arabic and so forth. And so with our software, we were able to do that for them, to create a very much private and secure system that allows them to have direct communication with whomever they run into in those environments. And so we're certainly honored to be part of that effort, and glad to be part of their peacekeeping teams. Yeah, I'm kind of skipping over some of these, but certainly student privacy, we get a lot of phone calls now where people have been using free apps for providing captioning, and they're starting to see what's happening there from a privacy standpoint. And so definitely with Streamer, it's not an afterthought. Privacy and security has been built in from the very beginning. What you're seeing, what Streamer is a website. And because it's a website, you're not downloading or installing an app or anything like that. When we developed this particular version of the product, we definitely designed it so that you would not have to download or install any apps, because a lot of times in schools that's difficult for teachers to do. Your computers are so locked down that you simply can't download or install anything yourself. You'd have to go find somebody from IT and getting updates and such. Just difficult to do. And so what we did with Streamer is we made it all web-based. So this is just a website that you go to, nothing that you need to download or install. So that makes it much easier for you and students and parents to use. And because it's a website, it's going to work happily with pretty much every application that's out there. And so if, for example, with Zoom, which we're using now, you can see one way of doing this is being able to use the overlay mode. I can also do side-by-side windows, or I can directly integrate it with Zoom. I'll show you that a little bit later on. So definitely it works with pretty much every live streaming platform that you have. And of course also works in the classroom itself. It's going to be the exact same experience whether the student is in a remote streaming situation where they're at home or they're on campus working, they're listening to you directly. The identical setup, the identical software, the identical application. So you do not need to relearn something when you come back on campus and start using it in that manner. Certainly, we support one-to-one conversations. That's done all the time. It's probably the biggest use of our software, but also group conversations. And so if you are having small groups in your classroom, certainly Streamer will support that situation. And depending on how you configure it, you can have Streamer automatically identify who is speaking at any given moment. So in addition to the words being said, you'll also see the name of the person who is speaking. I'm going to focus most of my time on classrooms, and again, both in-person and remote situations, but that's what I'll primarily be talking about. And I'm going to be talking about the perspective of the student being hard of hearing and that student trying to access the software. We do have some situations where we have teachers that are hard of hearing, and I'll touch on that a little bit, but definitely if you're in that position where you as the educator are hard of hearing and you need captioning from the students, it's going to be almost identical, but there are some twists there that we're going to do in that particular setup. So I'll touch on that, but by all means, if you're in that situation, contact us and we'll be glad to step you through that privately. Presentations, seminars, and services. If you're having an all-school assembly, you're going to be able to use, again, Streamer in the exact same manner as a individual student would for a classroom situation. Or morning announcements. That's something that really gets overlooked a lot when you have students that are hard of hearing. Um, we deal pretty good with the idea that they need captioning for their classroom instructions, but those morning announcements seem to just get kind of missed, and the captioning is not provided to those students that really would benefit from that information. And so with Streamer, we can certainly do that as well, and even your school events. So football team, basketball event, whatever, you are going to be able to use Streamer to caption that. So how does Streamer work? How do you use it? And it's very simple. You just click on a desktop icon, and that's all it takes to make it work. And so if you were watching really closely when I first started, all I did is I went out here and I clicked on this desktop icon. And what that did is it opened up my Streamer window. And this is what we're looking at right now. So here's where the captioning is being generated. That's probably hard to see. And then down here, I have what we call the overlay mode. And that's what I superimposed on top of it. And with the overlay, I can certainly make these settings however I want. So I did yellow text on a black background, and I made that pretty solid, 80%. But if I wanted to, I could make that semi-transparent. I can certainly change the font size. If I want to make this bigger, I could do that. So anything that I want with respect to, there we go, with respect to this window, I can do that. If I want to have 4 lines of text, and again, now I have a semi-transparent background, it's very easy for me to change this however I want. But I'm going to go ahead and close that out. And we'll just take a look at the streamer window itself for a moment. So right here, if I want to increase the font size, I'll do that right now because I think it's a little hard for you to see. I'm going to zoom in on the window, and the way I did that kind of quick, is I just went up to the Chrome settings window here, and I zoom in on the website. And when I do that, I can make this font as big as I want or as small as I want. So I'm going to go with about 150. We'll do that. So I hope you can see that okay. And what you're seeing right now is live captioning of what I am saying. There is no person in the background typing away or anything like that. This is a completely automated system that is listening to my speech. And as I'm talking, you can see the words are presented immediately. If there was a human typing, there's always a little bit of a leg error because typically a human typist will enter an entire sentence, and then at the end of the sentence, press send, and then the student is able to read that. In our case, our philosophy is that we really want the captioning to be presented immediately. The philosophy here is that if it's delayed, it's useless. That's stating it a little too strongly, but I think you get the idea that we really do want the captioning presented immediately. If, for example, you as a teacher are in front of the class and you point to a map and say, here is Russia, and then move on. If that captioning is delayed, let's say 5 seconds, the student has just missed that visual cue that goes with the verbal instruction. And so they've missed the words, here's Russia, as you're pointing at the country. And so they're constantly having to replay what you were doing, your physical gestures, 5 seconds before the words appear. It becomes very taxing mentally taxing for somebody to be able to do that. So again, everything that you're seeing here is presented immediately in real time. So let's jump back to the slides, and I'll show you a little bit more in terms of the details of what's going on here with Streamer. I'm going to scroll this up just a little bit so you can see the captioning at the bottom here. So what we have for captioning classroom instructions is the teacher is just going to click on the desktop icon. That's all they need to do to start Streamer. So you don't have to worry too much about being able to, there we go, to log into an account or something like this. When you configure your system, you just have that desktop icon. You will click on that. And when you're ready, you'll click on the microphone, which I did down here, and then that will start captioning your speech. The student on their end is also going to have a desktop icon on their Chromebook or laptop or whatever device that they're using, and they're going to click on that, and they're going to be able to view the captioning as it's being generated. They're going to be able to add personal notes to that transcript. So these are private notes that nobody else is going to see. And so I'll give you an example of that. Right here are some notes, and the student can customize these note categories. They do not need to use the default ones that we give them. But all they're going to do, if, for example, you're talking about something that they think is important, they're just going to double click on that. And that's going to get inserted directly into their copy of the note. So you can see it there. Nobody else is going to be able to see that note. No other student is going to see that. You as a teacher, you're not going to see that. Again, everything that we're doing is very much private and secure. And so again, all the student does is double click and these get inserted. They also have the ability to single click and then edit the note. So I could say, ask, what should I say, Tom about this item. And then that's going to get inserted into their version of the transcript. So as the lecture is being presented to them, they're going to add these private notes, private personal notes. And again, they can create their own note categories. And then at the end of the lecture, they're going to come up here to the settings menu and download that transcript. When they do that, they can choose the time frame, the last hour period, whatever it might be. In my case, I like Word, so I'm going to choose the docx format. And here we also have the ability to include a summary. And so what Streamer is going to do is go through the entire lecture, the entire conversation, and find what it thinks are the highlights of that lecture and summarize that then into a single paragraph. And I can choose to have it be a very short, medium, long. What that is kind of the Cliff Notes version of the lecture. And so if the lecture is 30 pages long, that long summary is going to be almost 10 pages. And so it condenses it by about 2/3. I tend to go with the short. And with that, then you could download it and save it to an appropriate folder. So if it's math class or something like that, you'd go ahead and save that in the math class folder. And so it's as simple as that to be able to generate the captioning, be able to add notes, and then to go ahead and save that. I promised you that I'd show you a little bit of integration directly with Zoom, so I think I'll do that right now. So I'm going to stop this for just a second here, clear it out. And what I'm doing, you can't see this on your screen, unfortunately, but what I'm doing is going over to the Zoom menu, and I think that's hidden from you. And I'm clicking on the closed caption option, and within Zoom, there's something called the API token. And so I just copied that. And now I'm going to come up here to Streamer Settings, go to the Zoom closed caption, and this is where I paste that API token. And so once I've done that, now I can click Start, and remember to turn on my microphone. And now that I've done that, everything that's being generated in this window is being pushed to the Zoom closed captioning menu. So on your end right now, if you open up the Zoom menu, and you'll see the closed captioning option, if you click the show subtitles, you'll be able to see a captioning of everything that I'm saying directly within Zoom. So that's just one example of being able to directly integrate this with Zoom. This isn't typically done in a classroom setting. This is done all the time in the workplace, but typically in a classroom setting, what by far teachers prefer, and by far what students prefer, is to have just two separate windows. And so again, make life simple for yourself. All you need to do as a teacher is click on that desktop icon, and that'll launch everything, and then the student is going to click on everything. So you do not need to worry about the API tokens, but I just wanted to show you that that ability also exists. So two different options there. Let's go back to the slides, and I'll scroll this up so you can see the captioning underneath. And there we go. So I think we got everything set. So again, all you're doing is clicking on those icons and adding notes and then downloading the transcript. We'll send you a copy of these slides, and wherever you see this sort of bluish text, that's a link that you can use to get more information about how to create note categories and how to add them and how to download the transcript and such. At the end of the class, after they've downloaded, they'll type clear, and that wipes out the transcript, and they're all set for their next lecture and to be able to start that class period. As you've gathered by now, Streamer, the captioning is displayed in what we call rooms. And so this is just taken exactly from a actual school building, a physical school building, where when you walk into that building, what you have is rooms, and each room would have a number. So 101, 102, 103, and so forth. And then on each room, there would be a label. For example, Ms. Anderson, third grade English or something like this. And so again, rooms have numbers and then they have labels. And that's exactly what we do in Streamer. So what we have in this particular interface is you can see Greenvale 1, 2, and 4 and such. And then they have various labels. So announcements and events and the various rooms that they could enter. So this particular room is one for Chris Miller, a student called Chris Miller, and that's what I've been using for this demonstration. So again, just like an actual building, room numbers and labels on the doors. And that's where the captioning is displayed. When you subscribe to Streamer, what you get is an additional room added to your lobby. That's the only thing you're paying for in Streamer. User accounts are completely free. There is no limit on the number of students that are using that room, or the number of minutes or per session fees or anything like that. It's an unlimited use system where all you're paying for is that subscription, which is about $9 a month for that room. And the more rooms you buy, the cheaper it becomes. I'll get into that a little bit later. User accounts is how people access the room. And so there are no invite codes or URLs that you have to send out or anything like that that just makes life a little more complicated for everyone. Here, what you have is an account. And that account has a password that's required for security. So you as a teacher or you as a student, you will use the same account every time to access the private and secure room. Again, there's no worry about having to send out a unique invite code for every meeting or having URL codes that somehow you have to get sent out to parents or something like that for every one of your meetings. They will use a user account. There are three main types of user accounts. One for the admin, and that's the people that are going to administer your overall system. Then you have individual accounts, or what I call personal ones. And then you have shared accounts where multiple people will use a single shared account to log into one of your rooms. So I'm going to go over this a little more in detail because it's a little bit of a difficult concept for people to understand. They're so used to paying a per user fee, and we don't do that. We make it much more affordable. You can have as many user accounts as you want. All you're paying for is that streamer room. So within your streamer room, you can have as many people as you want. So if, for example, you had 3 presenters for a particular session or a team teaching or whatever, all 3 of you could join in that room, again, with a single subscription. So you're only paying for one room here. And now you can start adding as many students as you want, or parents, if this is a uh, parent teacher conference, whatever it might be, you can have as many people join you in that room as you want, and it's all going to be that same price of roughly $9 a month, no matter how many people you have in the room. And so, for example, for the World Cup soccer games, they're going to have, roughly 70,000 people in stadiums that will all have access to Streamer. And so in a single room, we have 70,000 people. So again, no limits here in terms of what you do for user accounts. You can have as many as you want join you in that room. Within your streamer system for your school, you are going to have one main admin account. Now we can make duplicates of this if you want, but you're going to have at least one of these accounts. And this is the all-powerful account that's going to give you access to absolutely every room that's associated with your school or school district. So this is not an account that you're going to give to teachers or to students or something like that. This is an account that can see everything, manage everything, observe everything, and this is an account that you alone own. So we do not have access to your admin account. Only you have access to it. You can use that to assign rooms to individuals and locations, add those labels. You can set whatever permissions you want. For example, should a student be able to clear the transcript or download the transcript or invite others to come into the room or kick people out. All these various permissions that you can set with this main admin account. You can also use that to manage your overall system. For example, to send a message to everyone that's using your streamer system. For example, school is going to be closed next week for spring break. And so you could send out a message to everyone just reminding them of that event. And so again, all powerful account, and you're going to have at least one of those admin accounts associated with your school district. We're also going to have individual accounts. And so for schools, that means every staff member is probably going to have their own account, and potentially every student. Typically, I guess in schools, every staff member has one, teacher and staff, and then probably just the students that are raising their hand and saying they want captioning services. But certainly, you can have as many accounts as you want. Accounts are completely free. They will use those to enter a room for which they've been given permission to see. There they will view the captioning, add their own personal private notes that nobody else is going to see. You as a teacher can share documents. You can use it to send documents to them and also send private messages. For example, maybe just a reminder that, hey, our meeting, if you're pulling a student out of a classroom, you could send them a message, a reminder in 15 minutes before that meeting that says, hey, remember to come down to my office in 15 minutes. And that message will pop up on their screen. Then download and, of course, save the transcripts. Shared accounts are not used as often in academic settings, but I did want to mention them. I just got off another webinar with universities, and it was pretty common for graduation ceremonies this last go round, where they were done completely virtual, where universities were setting up shared accounts for various languages. And so they had one account for Spanish, one for Vietnamese, one for Russian, and any parent anywhere in the world was able to use Streamer to see a live captioning and hear in their desired language. So if you were in Moscow, you would be able to use that account to be able to view the graduation proceedings for your child or nephew or niece or whatever it might be, and be able to view a captioning in Russian and hear it spoken aloud in Russian. And same for Vietnamese or Arabic, whatever language you want. With a shared account, we very much lock that down, because now we have multiple people all logging in with the exact same account name and password. And so we lock down the ability for them to change the password or change the language or do basically anything other than view the captioning. And so again, that's a shared account. For the accounts, you can create them yourself. It takes about 30 seconds to create an account and configure it. So not so bad if you're doing, let's say, 10 accounts, but if you're doing 100 or something like that, the 30 seconds starts adding up and can start consuming a lot of your time. If you're doing that, let us do all that work for you. We're happy to create all your accounts for your staff, teachers, and if you want, all the students. It is very, very common for us to create an account for everybody on your staff. And all you need to do is get us what you'll send to us is the list of email addresses, and we will use the identifier portion of their email as the name of their account. And if you want, you can have a custom password for each one, or we will customize a password, a random password for them, and we will create all those accounts for you. And then we can also do the same for your rooms. And so if you wanted a room for every classroom in your building, which is commonly done in the Middle East and large portions of Europe, where they simply want a room for absolutely every physical room that they have, we're happy to do that for you as well. We'll create those rooms. We'll assign the individuals to those rooms with the appropriate permissions and get everything set up for you. So let me pause here for a little bit and see if you have any questions. Okay, one question is about punctuation. And what you're seeing here is the punctuation appears after the sentence has been completed. So if you look back up, so let me pause here for a moment. If you look back up in here, you can kind of see how the punctuation is coming in place. And the punctuation always happens about 5 seconds after, for example, there's a sentence, after the captioning has occurred. So we're presenting the words in real time immediately, and we have to wait until we get appropriate context in order to figure out where the punctuation goes. And so punctuation is certainly automated, and you will see it in the printed transcript, but it does appear about 5 seconds after the sentence has been spoken. So I hope that answers that question. Any other questions, go ahead and type those in, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. I'm going to jump back over to the slides here a little bit. So group discussions. So Streamer does caption absolutely everyone. And what we can do, depending on your classroom configuration, is we can also identify each person that is speaking. And so the way you would do that in a remote situation is that you would open up the conversation or open up the meeting for discussion or conversation by your students. And everyone that wants to participate in the captioning, and again, remember they've clicked on that desktop icon and that's going to show them their Streamer room. They could just click on this icon, and when they do, everything that they say will be captioned and be identified with their name. And so it'll say the name of the person and then the actual words that they are speaking. With Streamer, you can have multiple people speaking at the same time, and they can be speaking in any language. So for the first one there, it's pretty common for speech recognition systems to say they can only handle a single thread at any instance, meaning only one person can be speaking at a time, and you need to take turns. And that works well for some meetings, but for group discussions, it really doesn't. And it's not that people are talking over each other. What you also have is what we call sociable sounds. And so as one person is speaking, somebody else might say, yeah, sure, okay, They're giving this feedback, and that's important feedback for somebody who is hard of hearing to be able to see. And so with Streamer, we support that. So as other individuals are giving sociable feedback or jumping into the conversation, if they're talking at the exact same time, Streamer will happily handle that situation, and it will generate captioning of what everybody is saying at any given moment. That's pretty neat. Um, Multiple languages, and so looking at some of the registrations and the geographic areas of where you're located, odds are pretty good that you're dealing with a community where multiple languages are being spoken. And so if, for example, you have an ESL class and you want to be able to support every student in that class, Streamer will happily do that. As you are speaking English, each student is going to see and hear what you're saying in their respective language. And when they respond in their language, say Vietnamese, that's going to be translated into everybody else's language. And so for in the classroom, this is a big deal for that student who is ESL. For outside of the classroom, this is an even bigger deal. And this is something we really didn't appreciate when we put it together. But after the fact, it became such a huge benefit for those students that previously were isolated. So let's say you're basically the only student in the school that speaks Vietnamese or whatever the language is. It's very difficult for you to have friends when nobody else can communicate with you. So with Streamer, what we found is immediately those language barriers were dropped. And so that student who just dreaded going to school because they were so isolated and they were the only ones that spoke their language, they really couldn't talk with anyone. Now all of a sudden they can talk with everyone. And that's been a big deal. That's really made a difference in a lot of students' lives. And so we like that. That's kind of one of those very pleasant surprises that you like seeing. So again, everybody that speaks anything in any language is going to be presented to everyone in their desired language in an appropriate voice. And that's all built into the system. So no extra charge for this. You're not paying more money for language translation or additional modules or something like this. Again, we don't do any of that. It's just a flat fee of roughly $9 a month. And once you do that, you're all set. Note taking, we've talked already a bit about that. So the ability to add personal notes to the live transcript. And with note taking, you can create your own note categories. So I'll show you that right now. I'm going to go up here to the account settings, which I call Lego Man up here in the upper right corner. And when I click on that, it's going to show me all these various features that I have. So my profile name, in this case, I'm using an account for Miss Anderson. The picture I could change. So I can certainly change that username if I want and the password. But down here is where I wanted to get to these various phrases. So this is where a student can add their own phrases, their own note categories to it. And so if I, for example, we did a survey of students, and by far the most common one, which kind of surprised me, but afterwards it totally makes sense, is this one. Something along the lines of stopped listening. And when you think about it, it makes sense because they're in a remote situation and something has happened where they're no longer able to focus in on what the teacher is saying. I don't know, maybe the cat has walked across their keyboard or mom has called or something has happened. And what they can do is put a place marker in that transcript and come back later on and see or read what they otherwise would have missed. And so this is by far the most common one. So I'll go ahead and do the title and the phrase is what actually gets inserted and then click add phrase and now that's added. And so if I come back over here to the transcript and you'll notice that it's continually been transcribing everything as I've been speaking. Now I have this new category that's been added. And so if I just double click, that's going to get inserted into my copy of the transcript. Oh, I don't think I double clicked. There we go. And so very simple for students to create their own notes and categorize those notes and be able to use them in their copy of the transcript. Again, nobody else is going to see their private notes. You won't be able to, other students won't be able to. They can create as many note categories as they want and be able to utilize those. Again, we're going to send you copies of these slides. And so if you click on these light blue text, that's going to show you links, show you more information on that particular topic. I mentioned earlier that you as a teacher, for example, if you're pulling a student out of class, you could send that student a message that's going to pop up on their desk saying, hey, remember to come down to my office in 15 minutes. You know, if you have a student that just continually forgets or something like that, instead of you having to get up out of your office and go find the student and pull back, and now you've just missed or lost 10 minutes of the session, you can send them just a little note, and I'll show you how to do that. So pretty simple to do. If I want to send a note to a student, I'll send a note to myself here. I'm going to type the name of the student's account, an @ symbol followed by the name, and then I'll just say the note. Remember our meeting, should I say, starts in 15 minutes. And when I do that, that is going to get sent just to that student. It is not part of the transcript. If they download that, it's not going to be included as part of their download. It's just a message that appears on their particular computer. And it's also saved up here in the notifications bubble. And so if the student is not logged into Streamer at the time, it's absolutely fine. They're still going to get it. It's going to appear here up in their notifications page. So it's kind of a nice little feature, being able to send the notes. And likewise, a student would be able to send you a note. For example, if you forgot to turn your microphone on, they could send you a note saying, hey, the microphone isn't on. Can you please click? And so notes are very nice to do. Document sharing, another feature that was requested by teachers, and so we added it, was the ability to do drag and drop document sharing. So here I have my transcript, and if I want to share a document with the class, I can go ahead and do that. And so in this case, I'll go ahead and, kind of lost my mouse here. There it is. I'll drag it into the transcription window, drop it in there, and I got to get my mouse fixed here. Hang on a second. Sorry about this. Just a piece of dust in there. All right, there we go. And I'll go ahead and attach that and then send it. And once I do that, then every student has a copy of that particular document on their computer. So very easy to drag and drop. If you don't want to drag and drop and instead want to select the file using a menu structure, you can go ahead and do that as well. But again, kind of a nice little feature, being able to drag and drop those documents and share them with everyone. Other features, speech generation. And so if you have a student who is nonverbal, doesn't have the ability to speak, you can use Streamer to speak for them. And so that will be voiced aloud in a personalized voice. And so a child's voice, gender specific, that sort of thing, accents, you can very much personalize the voice to the situation. Now I can type in phrases from scratch, very easy to do that, but that takes time. And so by the time you type in an entire phrase and hit enter and have it be voiced aloud, you as the teacher, you maybe moved on to some other topic or something like that. And so we have this concept called Phrase Builder that makes it very easy for students to quickly generate custom phrases. And so we mentioned the phrases themselves, and so they will use those. And those can get spoken out loud. So those are prefixed phrases, but we also have the ability for you to create phrases with slots in them. So for example, a phrase like, I would like to buy some, and then there's a slot there, and all they have to do is enter the modifier after that. Or term expansions. So you could have a keyboard shortcut that's going to be expanded into a particular phrase. For example, IWL might be a shortcut for I would like. And so if I enter IWL some help, what would get voiced out loud would be I would like some help. Again, that term gets automatically expanded. Lots going on here for Phrase Builder. It's a little bit complicated to learn how to use it, just a little bit. But once you do learn how to use it, it's going to be so much nicer than having to type or write phrases from scratch every time. Much faster to use it. And the idea here is the ability to be able to quickly say whatever you want to say at any given moment, and with Streamer in any given language. And so we've done that with the speech generation. So if you have a student that needs that, give us a call, contact us, and we can give you a demonstration. I'll go into more detail on how that works and is customized and get everything configured for that particular situation. I showed you earlier the ability to save transcripts, and so this is immediately available to users. Now, if you're uncomfortable with students having the ability to download a transcript, we'll turn that feature off. So you completely control all permissions, and the ability to download transcripts is one of those permissions. And so actually by default, it is turned off, but typically we do turn it on for most K-12 situations. In universities, tends to be kind of a 75-25 split, where 25% of the time professors do not want students to have the ability to download transcripts, particularly overseas. In the US, it seems to be far more comfortable with downloading transcripts, but overseas, we see a lot of professors that are hesitant to allow students. But bottom line, we're able to turn that off. Some other features that we can have are auto clear. And so if, for example, you want every transcript to be automatically cleared at the end of the class period, the auto clear feature will do that. Or maybe at 1 a.m. you want every room cleared, we can set that up as well. And so all that is built into the feature set. So a lot going on there. Getting started tutorials. So this is probably the most important link of this entire presentation for you to pay attention to. And so if you have a browser window, you can go to it right now there, streamerlink.cc, and then the / click to caption. And let me pull that up right now, and we'll just take a look at this, just so you know that, streamerlink.cc, click to caption. And once this comes up, so when you do this, you're going to see 3 different videos, and I've mentioned these earlier, but just want to emphasize these. And so what we have is the admin video, the teachers and staff, and the students. And so in your case, if you're a teacher, this is the one that you would watch. And it's about 6 minutes long, and it's going to show you how to configure your system so you have that desktop icon, and then how to use it. The student one is a little bit longer because we're talking about how to add notes and note categories and such. And the admin one is longer than that, probably about 10 minutes long. And that's going to talk all about assigning permissions and creating user accounts and going into a lot of detail. Again, if you're on the admin team, and as you're watching this, you'll see that section of how to create an account and how to set permissions for it. And that takes about 30 seconds for each account once you get the system down. And so not bad if you're doing it just for a dozen students, but it's a pretty big effort if you're doing it for 100 students or certainly 1,000 students. So let us do that for you. We are happy to create all your accounts, set up the rooms, and we'll do all that work for you. Very easy for us to do that. We have all the tools to make that happen. And so again, not a problem whatsoever for us to do that. Please don't hesitate to ask to have us do that. There's no charge for that. Again, all you pay for is the room. No charge for user accounts or language modules or anything like that. People always contact us and want to know how much extra it is to add some particular feature, like the overlay feature or something like that. There is no additional charge. It's all just one flat price. Okay. So again, that link, streamerlink.cc, then click to caption, and that is going to show you our recommended approach to use in academic settings. Those are 3 videos. If you prefer to read versus watch a video tutorial, then this is where you would go. Streamer link, welcome to Streamer Academic Settings. And that's going to give you a series, I think it's about 6 articles. The first one just getting started, down to the last one, dealing with all school assemblies. So they get pretty advanced as you go through. Each article is about a page long. So we're not reading, novels here. So about 7 pages if you scroll through everything and you wanted to read all that detail. But again, by far, most people tend to prefer the video versus the reading, but whatever your preference, we're going to be able to support you with that. Okay. Let me pause here a second and check on questions that you have. Let's see. So as an itinerant teacher, can I set up all my students as a classroom so that they can each have their own accounts and about 35 students across 5 districts? Yeah, so absolutely. If you want to just use a single room to support all those individual students, so for example, you're pulling them out of class, coming down to your office or wherever that might be, in that scenario, you would only need a single subscription to support all of those 35 students across 5 districts. So for roughly $9 a month, you're going to be able to provide live captioning in whatever language you want in all those meetings for all those students for all those districts. And so absolutely, that's done all the time. It's a very common way of using Streamer. So thanks for the question. Here is how you're going to be able to start your own system, your own Streamer system. There is no credit card here. You're not entering any payment information. So this is not one of those deals where you have to remember to cancel it or you're going to get charged. I don't like those because I always forget to cancel them, and then I get charged something, and it just, yeah, it's not good. So in this setup, we do not do that. There's absolutely no hidden catch here. You're going to sign up by going to the link there. And when you do that, you'll see the form on the right side and just simply fill it in. We do need your email, and it needs to be a valid email because that's where we're going to send you your account name and the password. And so you need that in order to use that. So go ahead and enter a valid email and your name. And then if you are setting this up for a school, what we recommend is that you name the Streamer account, the name of your school followed by -admin. So in this case, Greenvale-admin. If you're setting it up just for yourself to play with it, go ahead and use like your last name and then do a -admin. It just works out better if you have that -admin because this is going to be your main admin account. You're going to be able to create as many users accounts as you want, but the main one, remember, there's that main account that has all access to all your rooms and everything. So go ahead and name that with the -admin. And then for the first room, put your last name or school district name, followed by something like -01 or -001, whatever it might be. And then as you add additional rooms later on to this account, we'll increment them upwards. So just our suggestions. You can name it anything that you want. There is no limit in the number of trials that you do. And so a lot of times we get this request from a teacher that says, yeah, I want to do a trial, but can you start it 20 days from now or something like that? And the answer is you can do one now, and then you can start another one 20 days from now. We don't police this in terms of how many times a person starts a trial. Each time you do it, you do need a different email address. If you get into a bind where you previously used an email address and you need to reuse it, call us and we have to manually go in and reset that original email. But we can do that. It's pretty easy for us to do that. But by far the easiest way is just the second time you sign up for a trial, use a different valid email address, and you'll get a second trial. Now, each time you do a trial, you're starting over. And so it's going to be a different Streamer account. It's going to be a different Streamer room. And so it's not a deal where you can set up your admin account and then just keep using a trial indefinitely to re-up the same room. You are starting over from scratch, but you certainly are welcome to do multiple trials. But again, each time you're starting over brand new. Remember to click the button. So we do get quite a few people that fill in the form, and you have to scroll down a little bit because there's all these legal words. But at the very bottom, click the button, and with that, you will have your room. And that's going to be your first Streamer room along with an admin account that you'll again use to manage all access and privacy setting for your room. And if you want, you can pay for additional rooms to get added to that account. You're going to get unlimited captioning and translation with that. So again, there No need to keep track of how many minutes that you've used. Some of these systems give you something like, I don't know, 100 minutes a month. And so you're always worried that you're bouncing up against that limit and it's all of a sudden going to stop. There are no limits with Streamer. You can use it as often as you want, anytime that you want, with as many people as you want. If you want to just have one person, that's fine. If you want to share your subscription with 1,000 people, that's absolutely fine. We encourage you to share your subscriptions with others. There's no concept here of a per user fee. We encourage you to do the opposite. We encourage you to share your subscription with as many people as you want. If you want to add additional rooms to your subscription, then you do need to purchase them. So that's where we get our money to sustain ourselves. That's how we pay for the servers and the continued development and such like that, is that you're paying that fee for that room. So if you do want additional rooms, contact us with the number you want, and we'll be able to add those with your subscription. So again, the cost, I was saying roughly $9, but it's $8.25 with an annual payment. So if you do the math, that comes out to $99 a year. If you're going with just the monthly plan, then you can see the price there, roughly $10 a month for a monthly plan. Again, unlimited use, unlimited number of user accounts. It includes all the features, all the languages. You do not need to pay extra for extra features. I know that's very common for apps to do all the time. They give you like a free version, and then as you start using it, then they start saying, oh, well, in order for that feature, now you got to pay an extra $10, and then an extra $10 more for some other feature. And, oh, you want to download transcripts? Well, that's another $5. And before long, you end up, $50 a month for something like that. There are no concepts of additional add-ons or modules or anything like that that you need to buy. Again, we're making it very simple. You just pay per room, and that's it. Now, with the educator's discount, if you get 5 or more rooms, that's not listed there, but if you get 5 or more rooms, it's a 20% discount. So instead of $99 per room per year, now it's dropped to $79 per room per year. So very affordable. 10 or more, it's a 25% discount. So now we're down to $74 per room. And the more rooms that you purchase, the greater the discount. So 25 or more rooms, it drops to $69 and so forth. So very affordable to be able to support a lot of students with this particular system. Also becoming very common now, is a district-wide captioning option. And so with a district-wide system, every student has equal access to unlimited services. And let me tell you a little bit what's going on. What we found is that traditionally we focus captioning systems on students that have an IEP. Students where captioning has been designated as a service that they are going to receive as a result of that IEP evaluation. With the remote learning situation, what happened is a greater number of students were raising their hands saying they're having difficulty understanding what the teacher is saying. So these are students that normally would not qualify under an IEP, but now they are struggling. And so we saw schools increase the number of students they're supporting. And what's happened in a really big way is as students have come back onto campus, as that's occurring, teachers are now wearing masks. So they're in the front of the room wearing that mask. And so their voice is slightly muffled. And that student that has never raised their hand or said they have difficulty understanding is now, because of the muffled voice, and a huge issue because they can no longer see lip movement and facial expressions, they are having trouble understanding what you as the teacher are saying. So they raise their hand and say, hey, can you talk louder? And teachers are basically responding saying, no, I can't talk louder because my voice can't handle that. I can't shout for 7 hours a day. And so captioning has become the answer. And so we're seeing far number of districts, many districts, that as the students are coming back on campus, that they've just decided that we're going to a district-wide system where every student has equal access. And so instead of having to raise hands and go through a process or something like this, all the student needs to do is click on a desktop icon, and they're going to be able to see that captioning. And so again, we would do that for every classroom that you have. A fixed flat fee of around 10 cents per student. I know the slide says 20 cents. And for smaller districts, it's going to be closer to 20. So it depends on the size of your district. The larger the district, the lower the cost becomes. And so again, that's the monthly cost of around, let's call it 15 cents per student. And therefore, every student in your district, and we base it on total student population, is going to have equal access to captioning services at any time. If you go that route, you're going to have an unlimited number of rooms, and we will create all those rooms and all the accounts for you. So it becomes a very nice way to be able to do that. Okay. Let's see. You can see a link there with some more information on how to use the district-wide approach and how to inquire about that. And certainly we'll be able to make that happen for you. We will create all your rooms, all your user accounts. We will assign the rooms to those accounts. If you have a single sign-on service at your district, we will integrate Streamer with that SSO. That takes a little bit more time. And so if you're wanting us to do that, plan on that final step taking a good week. We'll do all the other stuff in a day, create all those rooms in the accounts, but the SSO probably takes an additional week for us to coordinate to make that happen. But we're happy to do that for you. Here is the contact information. And so I know I haven't answered all the questions here, but by all means, give us a call at the number there or send us an email. If you have a Streamer account, that is the account to send us a message. That is by far the best way to get a hold of us. Phones would be the second best, and email would be the worst. We get so many emails every day. It's just hard to filter through all the spam to get to the important ones. And we feel terrible when an important one gets filtered out. And so email is probably the least preferred in terms of getting quick responses. I briefly mentioned Karen a few times at the very beginning. I talked about her website, and here I explicitly want to do that. So successforkidswithhearingloss.com. There is a huge amount of information on this website, well beyond Streamer, but here I just did pull up the Streamer website. She just had her conference. I think you can still jump in and participate in that if you want. We use Streamer to caption most of those sessions, and so I did listen to all of them, and they are excellent, very well done. And so that's the conference information. But right here, I'm on their Streamer webpage, and you're going to see a lot of information here in terms of when you should use it, when you should not use it, when it is appropriate for given situations. Lots of information here, not just on Streamer, but on everything else. And so that's the successforkidswithhearingloss.com is the name of that particular website. So I definitely hope you can spend some time and take a look at that. Okay, thanks again, everyone, for attending. I do have a lot of questions, and I'm going to type in responses to those questions here in a moment. And so if you can stick around, you will see the answers to those questions popping up shortly. Thanks again for attending. Bye for now.